family. This is Ebony Davis, and our current alumni profile features Maurice Winley, pastor of Soul Saving Station of Every Nation in Harlem, New York, and founder of Living Redemption Community. God has done great things through his organization, which has now grown to encompass several cities. And one thing was for sure, as we interviewed, he worked through collaboration. In fact, right from the initial grant proposal, Maurice had partnerships in play. Living Redemption has an incredible journey. Let's listen in as Maurice Winley talks collaboration. Can you tell me, just kind of give us an overview of sort of the collaboration or the collaborative opportunities that are benefiting this work, both what you've already been doing and then as you kind of spread into other
Yeah,
states?
yeah. I mean, everything we've done is built on collaboration. When we, as I shared even in the beginning, the 125th Street Business Improvement District, that is 125th Street, which is one block of our church is located one like literally around the corner from the Apollo Theater. And so 125th Street, there's a major retail corridor. So you have the 125th Street Business Improvement District, every property owner, business owner on that corridor, they come together in an association. And so that's I serve as a director, board of directors. And so that's an opportunity to leverage, right, through those relationships, resources, for the youth, right? Whether it's job opportunities, whether it's training, you follow me? And so with all of the systems we work with maybe about a dozen systems in terms of government systems. And it's beyond just funding. It's about co-creation, co-design. And, a lot of the initiatives that we are deploying, we actually informed and wrote them. And then they came with the resources to support them and learn from them. And so that's been our unique mission. That started, like I mentioned, with the Department of Probation. We're in the process of doing a number of things with the Office of Neighborhood Safety around community-driven public safety. We've launched what's called the Love Harlem. Love stands for Love Over Violence Every Time. And that brings law enforcement, community, where we're raising up resident stakeholders, training them, empowering them so they can interface confidently with law enforcement and speak to the quality of life issues in their neighborhoods, and to seek funding and support, and also provide funding for initiatives. At the hub, we co-locate with other entities, individuals who are committed and aligned to the mission so they can bring their unique contributions. So that way we're offering, it's not just about us, it's about we. We have those relationships, like I said, with the courts, where we can advocate when individuals are in our programs. We have name recognition with the courts, with the judges, so we can say we're working with them. We have therapists doing mental health, and so we're building into those spaces. We partner with academia, Columbia University, City College. We're right now working with City College around infrastructure sector access, where we provide a training, internship, placement, and supports for individuals to be able to involve with the new infrastructure and even upcoming AI revolution. So in terms of technology, so every area we're trying to cultivate, and it's through relationships, through those strategic partnerships. We've had a partnership with Google, being able to provide access to a lot of their unique training offerings and certifications for individuals and entrepreneurs. Through the Administration of Children's Services, we built such a relationship where they actually had resourced us to fund a family enrichment center. And so again, the list goes on and on. We're working with the state, providing support to victims and families of gun violence. And this is an initiative, and that all falls under our Love Harlem tent. And so just an example of some of the different initiatives and the derivative that God is blessing. And it is all built on collaboration, relationships. We believe that relationships move at the speed of trust, and just really being intentional, not transactional.
Yeah.
with our peers. You know, we have partner meetings where we're bringing our constituencies where we will share about our opportunities, whether it's staff, onboarding, funding. We do a lot of sub grants,
Yeah.
a lot of subcontracting, a lot of incubating in terms of individuals who want to in the process of launching. They may be in different phases. It might be ideation, but they need incubation and need space that we can provide. We provide those supports for up and coming leaders, coaching, etc.
I would love to know for some, I mean, because this is amazing. I mean, this is when you say this is the model for collaboration, I'm seeing the model for collaboration in what you do. And but for someone who, let's say, is new to collaboration or has maybe been trying to do it all on their own, um, what does it look like? Like, how do those partnerships actually form? Like, okay, today you've got a relationship with Google or this department or that department, these community organizations. But when it started, how did you step into that? How did those partnerships form? If you could give some tips on that.
Yeah, if it first starts, with every who has the burden, right? It's being at those meetings and who's staying there and talking afterward, after the meeting is over. It's those meetings after the meetings where the passion is still flowing and doing the follow-up, right? That diligence, right? Being conscientious. And so relationships is work, right? Because we all deal with the what I call it, time, turf, trust, right? We all deal with those dynamics. But again, being relational, being missional,
Mhm.
and I think that's what has caused the attraction and connection and this connectedness that we've been able to create. It's all around mission, right? This sense of mission, being hospitable. But like I said, just being intentional, when you're in those spaces, following up, being persistent, not being transactional because it's a thin line. And I think that sometimes, a lot of times, that's where people miss it,
Mhm.
right? In terms of ambition, it's a thin line, and that's something that we always stress. Let's build a relationship, the social capital, because that's where, all of the idea, when I trust you, I can really start sharing my heart. So with these system partners, like I said, these are people that you have relationships with. You praying for their families. They're calling you when they're stressed out. So you really have to develop almost a pastoral type of dynamic with them that's beyond their role or your role. You follow me? There's just a genuine connection that's there, and so I think when we can sequence it in that way, when we're young, we like to just, we power networking and
Mhm.
be mindful enough to be relational and to be praying and discerning when God connects you to people. God, what do you want to do?
That's so good.
And not just lean to your own understanding, but really discerning, because relationships are sacred. And I always would say that our greatest blessings, sometimes our greatest pain will come through relationships. So you want to definitely be mindful, discerning, and seeking God's direction as we learn and grow. But you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
And so even if on a personal level, just having your mentoring constellation in terms of someone that you can be sharing, your colleagues, but then you have somebody that has gone or has been where you're going. We always say you don't want to be the smartest one in the room, and that's intentional. That's all. If you operate like that personally, then it'll translate into how your organizational culture, your program culture, what your project culture, whatever iteration or stage, because we're all at different stages and levels, it'll all transmit those principles, will transcend and continue.
Okay. If I were to ask you your top three outcomes from these partnerships, if you were to give me just three, like,
Yeah, like I said, with the partnerships, number one is that connectedness, right? Because everything flows from that, the quality, quantity of the connections, and we look at that not only with the systems, we look at that with the youth, we look at that with the families, we look at that internally amongst the staff. We guard it vigilantly, obviously, we're human beings, we're flawed. And when those tensions, when those realities surface, we have to be quick. We live a restorative, graceful environment. We understand about having carefrontations, and that's across the board. You follow me? That's across the board. When you're dealing with political cycles and different motivations, and and again, I would say, making sure God first, then us, right? Put the, it helps to keep things in perspective, right? And then just really impact. We're called to really touch these lives. I mean, the youth and families and communities, like you were saying when we first started. I mean, this is such an unprecedented time, and the need, the pain. You got to hear the call. You got to move with a burden. Don't move with ambition, move with a burden. Move with a burden, a burden from God that he will flow through you, and you will be amazed what he will do when you're genuinely and authentically moving based on a burden that he's placed on you, not an opportunity. And so I know you said 3 things. I don't know that.
That's okay. That's okay. That's good. That's good. I would just like to end by asking, how can other DVULI alum be praying for you and praying for your organization?
Yeah. Well, like I said, when you enter into the promised land, it is a battlefield, and it's a multi-front. You're gonna, physically, so pray for healing in our bodies. We're seeing amongst many of the staff, including myself, health challenges that will emerge from the stress of the work, and just maintaining proper balance, burnout. Again, keeping the mission first. There's a thin line between mission and money, and all success is not good success. And so being able to weed through sometimes distractions, even with collaborations. All collaborations are not good collaborations. Everybody who wants to partner, they may have different motives. And so just praying for discernment, praying for strength, again, in transition. Soul Saving Station is a community church that's been operating since 1942. And we're in the process of really, it's like almost like a relaunching, to really bring the church into relevant engagement, and also that convergence with the current outreach that God has provided through Living Redemption. And so that we just would be wise, that we would pace ourselves for the long haul. Change, you have to trust the process. It's not an event, it's a process. And so, that we just would be faithful to, that we would be good stewards of what God has provided us, because he has really blessed us. And I know that I sense that we're in another, preparing for another expansion phase, but there's just some things. These things that I'm talking about just have to be tightened up, so that way you can, the next level, it means more stress. You follow me? So each level is so that we would just really, and just that collective, that unity, and that God would just really begin to draw the right people, to like I said, those that are driven with a burden versus, opportunity, or just looking for financial numeration.
Well, that is definitely a prayer. It's a word for us all, and a prayer that we can be praying for you and for all of our organizations. Maurice Winley, pastor of Soul Saving Station for Every Nation, DVULI alum. Thank you so much. And thank you for letting us have a part of what God is doing in your life.
Appreciate you, my sister.